its shape was.
Scary.
And I know other people have described it the same way. I know Lon has got reports where people described it that way. I think it's easier for people to try to relate what they've seen to something they know, even if that thing that they're comparing it to is something fictional, like the movie Jeepers Creepers. It gives them some way to describe this otherwise, impossible to describe creature, really.
It would. Hey, now we're going to have to go on a break here. We'll be back in about 2.5 minutes. I'm going to put you on hold, so don't hang up, okay, Tobias?
All right, sounds good.
Okay. I think we're going to go on break. I'm pretty sure we are. Okay, here we go.
Não perde tempo escolhendo a roupa, porque no fim eu sei que vou tirar. Fala tchau pro seu batom na boca e fala oi pra quem te faz pirar. Se você já tá com a mesma sensação, pode vir, desde que eu tô bugão. Tá descontrolada toda essa tara e não para porque a coisa ficou mara. Vou te ganhar no cansaço, no cansaço, no cansaço. Vamos fazer um regaço, um regaço, um regaço. Colarinho dos amassos, amassos, amassos. Vamos fazer um regaço, um regaço, um regaço. Rafa Gomes, digam no beat. Não perde tempo escolhendo a roupa, porque no fim eu sei que vou tirar. Fala tchau pro seu batom na boca e fala oi pra quem te faz pirar. Se você já tá com a mesma sensação, pode vir, desde que eu tô bugão. Tá descontrolada toda essa tara e não para porque a coisa ficou mara.
Do you have a paranormal story you want to share on Night Dreams Talk Radio? You could be a guest. Email us at nightdreamstalkradio@gmail.com. If you would like to hear Night Dreams Talk Radio on your local radio station, let them know. Tell them to check out www.nightdreamstalkradio.com, and thank you.
Good evening, or morning, depending on your time zone. From the Pacific to the Atlantic to you worldwide. Get yourself a cup of Java and find a comfy, easy chair. And get ready for Gary and his guest on Night Dreams Talk Radio. After Dark. And now, here's Gary.
And here I am. I got to get used to these new intros one of the stations made for me. I love it. Anyway, tonight we got Tobias Wayland. We've been talking about Mothman and all this stuff. Tobias, are you still here?
I sure am, Gary.
I bet you went and got another cup of Java, didn't you?
I'm still working on this one. It's cold brew, so, it's very potent. I got to pace myself, otherwise I'm going to be up all night.
When Jeepers Creepers, the original one, came out, I wonder if that made a major jump on reports to like Mothman and other cryptids.
I don't know. I wonder when it actually did come out. Looks like it came out, it came out in 2001. So, I haven't noticed any associated increase in sighting reports. But, honestly, I guess I wouldn't have, because what was I doing in 2001? That's actually before I was really investigating. I was only 21 years old. So, yeah, I don't know. Like, I haven't seen I've certainly never seen any studies or anything about that, but people do have different theories surrounding sort of the influence of media on cryptid reports or really any kind of paranormal subject matter. It could be UFOs, it could be cryptids or ghosts or whatever. Now I know this is something Lauren Coleman has talked about quite a bit, and I like Lauren. He's a good colleague, and just a generally nice guy. So I don't want to butcher this too much, but I do remember him speaking specifically about sort of the influence that the Richard Gere Mothman Prophecies movie had, and sort of how that contributed to the folklore surrounding like these sightings. And so, as an example, there has been a story circulating about a sighting of Mothman around Chernobyl, actually. And let's see if I can find this here. And so, what Lauren had said, so let me actually see if I can get this story straight first. So okay, after this movie came out, there was this legend that started circulating, basically, that a strange flying humanoid had been seen over Chernobyl on numerous occasions prior to the nuclear disaster there back in '86. And then allegedly some workers, had even claimed to see it hovering over the plant, and those that saw it were supposedly plagued by strange dreams and harassed by threatening phone calls, and just a lot of the high strangeness stuff that was reported along with 66 and 67 Point Pleasant sightings, and so it actually took on sort of a life of its own, and people started referring to it as the Blackbird of Chernobyl, and Lauren actually had traced the legend back to the 2002 film, the Richard Gere vehicle, Mothman Prophecies, and he had said that the Chernobyl story, like the Galveston Hurricane Mothman tie-in, and some other examples given of in that movie, were all pure fiction. So, I mean, I should explain for anybody who hasn't seen it that in this movie, they talk about other supposed occurrences of the same phenomenon, like other places where Mothman had been supposedly seen prior to a disaster. But the thing about it is, none of that actually happened. Like, that was made up just for the movie. So nobody had actually been reporting Mothman over Chernobyl or, prior to the Galveston, hurricane in, Galveston, Texas, or any of that stuff before this movie came out, because it didn't exist before this movie came out, because they made it specifically for this movie. And so that's a really interesting example, I think, of how media can influence the folklore surrounding, these events. You have something that is in ostensibly, at least, true story, like a true recounting of events, like the Mothman Prophecies. But then, you take that, you sell the rights to a movie producer and or a studio, I guess, and they take this true account and they add a bunch of fictional stuff to it, and sort of in doing so, they manipulate the narrative surrounding it. And so now you've got people watching this movie who, I don't expect everybody to do hours and hours of research on everything. I think at a certain point, if somebody says something is true, and, you don't necessarily have a horse in that race. A lot of people, and understandably so, just sort of assume that it's true. But in this case, you've got something that is supposedly true, is presented as at least, mostly, being true, even in the film version. But then they add all of this fictional crap just tacked onto it, and people conflate that with the actual events, and next thing you know, you've got people talking about how for sure there was a Mothman over Chernobyl prior to the 1986 meltdown, and it just never happened.
Oh yeah.
So I don't know what kind of effect Jeepers Creepers had, but I mean, it wasn't presented as a true story, so probably not as much as the Mothman Prophecies movie had, but still, you never know.
I keep, last time we were on, I told you I was going to try to trace down the screenwriter, if he's still alive, that wrote, the original screenplay for Jeepers Creepers, because I wanted to know where he got the idea of this creature, this cryptic. My feeling is, the reports of Mothman, and he just enhanced it. They have to do that, to make a movie. If you go by just what the report was, you're not going to have much content. So they have to make all this fictional, fake stuff up, to make it interesting. And the thing is, I hate to say it, people are gullible. So all of a sudden, perfect example, right? People on Facebook will say this famous movie star just died. They didn't die. They just posted up there, right? People are sharing it. And all of a sudden, it gets back to the actor, right? Hey, I'm not dead. Because it gets out to the news media, it gets out everywhere, and people believe it. And it doesn't take much. So a rumor about Mothman or anything cryptic, or even aliens or UFOs, it can kind of start getting embellished really fast. But, I do have opened my eyes up more lately, because the Navy's stepping forward, and saying that yes, they do believe that we're being visited by something, and now the Air Force is kind of relaxing their thing, and then the Pentagon says yes, we actually, which they have denied for years, that they're not investigating UFOs and alien contacts and all this stuff. It makes me wonder then maybe some of this cryptic stuff, maybe something like Mothman or something like that maybe does exist, because, again, we're not just hearing about it in Virginia or in Chicago. I mean, Joe Taylor is a very credible person. He works for a lot of museums. He actually has his own. He has traveled the world, finding dinosaur bones and working for museums and putting them together, for the museums and, to preserve them and stuff. Very credible, scientist. And for him even, to talk about it on my show about a report in Texas where he's at, a Mothman, tells you that they are, everywhere. And then some, if you go into Colorado or Arizona, there's other reports, not of Mothman, but something similar to that, there. So I don't know. The average person is never going to see it, because the average person, they spend their whole life around a town or a city.
Yeah, I mean, I think you've really hit on something there, because we absolutely get these reports from everywhere. We've got reports from everywhere from. Well, I mean, it's coast to coast, frankly. California, Arizona, moving into the Midwest, all over the place. Pennsylvania, Ohio, obviously everywhere around Lake Michigan. I know people love to concentrate on Chicago when it comes to this Lake Michigan Mothman flat, but I'm telling you, Gary, all of the best reports are not from Chicago. They're from Indiana, they're from Wisconsin, they're from places in Illinois that aren't Chicago. And so, yeah, I mean, it's a very widespread phenomenon. And you're absolutely right when it comes to, sort of, I think, who you can expect expect to encounter something like this. I mean, for